A mother becomes a murder victim, stuffed in the trunk of a car.
My heart was broken. I was scared to death. Her kids were scared.
As her family aches for answers, detectives share new clues that could bring them justice. A suspect snared in a chase with a device called the Grappler.
One for a grapple with Maytown.
The joke he made during his arrest that fell flat with the judge. A year on the run ends with a face full of pepper spray.
Oh my God, bro, you got blind.
If Renton were to have a 10 most wanted list, Jamari Wilson would have been #1.
How Renton police were finally able to capture their most wanted fugitive. Tonight in the Spotlight.
The Spotlight brought to you by Beacon Plumbing.
It's never a good sign when you find somebody in the back of a vehicle because somebody had to put them in there.
It was a tragic discovery more than 3 years ago at an auto yard in Graham. Pierce County deputies responding to a call from workers there discovered a woman dead in the trunk of a car. She was later identified as 41-year-old Patricia SoDo. The mother of 3 had been reported missing in Burien more than a month earlier. Well, good evening and thanks for joining us for the Spotlight. I'm David Rose. King County major crimes detectives say Patricia SoDo was murdered. Her mom is talking publicly for the first time about her family's loss. As the lead investigator on this case is sharing new information, hoping you can help give him a lead to identify her killers. Look at that smile.
I know, she's got a beautiful smile.
Family photos of Patricia SoDo show a woman at her happiest, with her kids, or cheering on the Seahawks. Her mom, Karen, says Tricia was a good person.
She had a huge heart, and she was a beautiful soul. She was a free spirit.
Tricia was also struggling with addiction, but was finally ready for a change.
And she wanted to get her life back on track.
She was scheduled to start inpatient treatment on Monday, November 9th, 2021. She brought her luggage to her mom's home in Snohomish County, but then left to make one more trip to the Burien apartment where she'd been staying with a friend.
I said, don't go out there. I said, you won't be back. And I didn't mean it like that. I meant it like, you know, you're not going to come back. You're going to stay out there, and then you won't go to treatment is what I was thinking. And then she went to Burien. And then I didn't see her ever again after that.
Karen filed a missing persons report when her daughter stopped responding to her text messages. What did you think?
I didn't know what to think. I didn't know why she disappeared. I didn't know why she wasn't responding to me. It was just radio silence all of a sudden.
The last time that she was seen alive was in the city of Burien at her friend's apartment, and that would have been late on November 7th of 2021 or in the early morning hours of November 8th.
King County Major Crimes Detective Aaron Thompson says Tricia left the apartment at about 1 a.m. to go outside to meet someone. She was running with a lawless crowd.
I think just based on the lifestyle that she was living, she was a target of some threats, because of the narcotics deals and things that she had been involved in.
Weeks went by with no sightings.
It was horrible. It was crying daily. My heart was broken. I was scared to death. Her kids were scared. You know, nobody knew what happened to her.
Then, on December 21st, a grim discovery at a tow yard in Graham. Tricia was found tied up in the trunk of this Acura TL with a gold-colored hood.
The Pierce County Sheriff's Office had been dispatched there to investigate an odor that was coming from a vehicle that had been donated there. And they saw what they believed to be a deceased person in the trunk of the car, kind of through the rear seat armrest pass-through.
Detective Thompson says Tricia was in the car she'd been driving. Her boyfriend was letting her use it while he was in jail. The car had been abandoned in Roy on November 8th, just hours after her disappearance.
They called the police because it was on private property. The police wouldn't come tow it. So eventually, to get this abandoned car off their property, they called and donated it to a local charity. And then the tow yard came and picked it up, and that's how it ended up at the tow yard in Graham.
Do you think she was already dead when the car was parked there in Roy?
It's impossible for us to say.
Crime scene techs processed the vehicle for evidence and DNA. Detective Thompson says so far, they found no match to that DNA and have ruled out all of those closest to her.
A lot of those people have either alibied out, they've given DNA samples to be compared against the DNA in the case. They have given interviews, and we haven't haven't been able to tie any of those people to her case.
He says they do believe there was more than one suspect involved in her kidnapping, people she trusted.
I think everybody that we know about who is tied with her, we've spoken to. And what we're really looking for is for information on someone that we haven't yet interviewed or collected DNA from that might be involved.
This one seems very personal, doesn't it?
It does. I think that whoever did this to Patricia definitely knew her. She felt safe meeting them, and they took advantage of that.
Why would somebody want to kill her?
I have no idea. I wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, the way that she was tied up, there had to be somebody that was angry, I think.
Detective Thompson says he's certain there are people who know who was involved in Trisha's disappearance and death.
We've looked at a lot of angles, and a lot of times what it takes is just, we might be facing in almost the right direction, and somebody can give us just enough information to point us in the exact right direction and get us pointed down the right trail to find who did this.
I want the person or persons who did it to be behind bars. They don't deserve to be walking the streets and living their life.
So if you have any information to help solve Patricia SoDo's murder, you will remain anonymous when you submit a tip to Crime Stoppers of Puget Sound. Crime Stoppers is offering a $1,000 cash reward for the tip that helps solve the case. You can text the information through the P3 Tips app on your cell phone or call 1-800-222-TIPS. We put the spotlight on an armed and dangerous fugitive who was wanted in Renton, and tonight he is locked up. The Renton PD Violent Crime Unit and Valley SWAT arrested Jamari Wilson with the help of a couple of pepper rounds fired into his vehicle.
Oh, hell no. You guys hey, where's Littleton? Oh, my God, bro. You guys blind.
Police say a Crime Stoppers tip from one of you led them to the 22-year-old. They saw him get into a vehicle, so they conducted a high-risk traffic stop, but he refused to come out. Wilson surrendered after they fired off 2 pepper rounds into his car. Police say Wilson is a known gang member with a reputation for being heavily armed. He had 7 warrants for his arrest for domestic violence, theft, and illegally having guns.
When they located Wilson on Friday evening, they found a altered Glock, which made it a fully automatic weapon. It had an extended magazine with 22 hollow point bullets inside. So as you can see, extremely dangerous. That gun was ready to fire.
Wilson spent almost a year on the run after he cut off his ankle monitor. On top of his warrants, Wilson is also under investigation for alleged sex trafficking and is facing federal charges. He's being held on $255,000 bail. One of the most prolific auto thieves in Pierce County is back on the streets. His name is David Anello, also known as New York Dave or Spanaway Dave. He's been arrested 52 times and has more than 20 felony convictions. In his most recent arrest, he and another suspect were caught on camera stealing an RV parked outside a Tacoma gas station on Thanksgiving. That RV belonged to a couple who were living in it after their home in Auburn burned down. The RV was later recovered, but it had been crashed, trashed, and unlivable. Detectives identified Anello and Jason Frack as the suspects and arrested them on theft charges. Anello was summoned to court and actually showed up for his arraignment. He was released on personal recognizance. Edmonds police are hoping for tips on a waterfront shooting that critically injured an 18-year-old. This video shows 5 suspects in the early morning hours of January 9th near the fishing pier in Edmonds. Police say the group approached a brother and sister and shot the brother multiple times. Investigators say the suspects and the siblings did not know each other, and the motive for the shooting is unclear. Edmonds police say anyone who has information on those suspects should not approach them. Call 911 or Crime Stoppers immediately.
Fish on, fish on.
Thurston County Sheriff's deputies say it's a little like going fishing when you use the Grappler. We've shown you this new device here on the Spotlight, and we're seeing another example tonight of how effective it is. The Grappler is designed to quickly end a pursuit, and this time deputies used it to snare Randy Rich. He was wanted on a felony warrant and was arraigned in court on Tuesday. When he was arrested back on January 8th, deputies say they found drugs, a scale, and baggies in his car. As the Spotlight's Jennifer Dowling reports, Rich made a joke during his arrest that the judge in this case did not appreciate.
Dash cam video shows a Thurston County Sheriff's deputy working to snag a fleeing suspect.
One for a grapple in Maytown.
His goal was to use the Grappler bumper to reel in driver Randy Rich, wanted on a felony warrant. After deploying what looks like a net,
Got it on westbound Maytown Road.
the deputy casts the line. After a tire is hooked, the catch is confirmed.
Fish on, fish on.
When Rich was arrested, court documents state Deputy Sandoval asked him if he knew what he's supposed to do when an officer activates their emergency lights behind them. Randy replied, quote, hit the gas, then said he was joking.
This is Mr. Rich.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you say your full name for us, please?
Randy Dean Rich.
In court Thursday, prosecutors argued for high bail, his attorney asking for $2,500.
Our client is indigent. He is not likely to be able to pay even 10% of the $75,000 that was requested.
When making a decision, the judge noted his joke to deputies.
Randy replied, hit the gas. He subsequently said he was joking, but it's not a joking matter. He was going tremendously fast on public roads while other drivers were around. I have no confidence that he will ever show up to court, ever.
The judge also considered 3 active warrants out for him from Olympia Municipal Court and a 2019 warrant out of Bennett County before setting bail at $100,000.
If he has flashing lights behind him and he doesn't stop, why is a piece of paper going to make him show up? If other pieces of paper didn't make him show up, why are our pieces of paper going to make him show up?
Keep your hands up.
The grappler may have stopped the pursuit in under 3 minutes.
Drop to your knees. Hands on your head.
But it was deputies and K-9 Asher that ultimately netted an arrest.
Rideau County 1, the car is clear. Clear code 10. 1 in custody.
For the Spotlight, I'm Jennifer Dowling.
During his arraignment, Rich pleaded not guilty and requested a jury trial, which is now set to begin in mid-March. 5 men facing federal charges tonight, accused of flooding Seattle's Chinatown International District with drugs and guns. In a joint operation, the FBI, DEA, and Seattle Police did surveillance on the men, all from King County, for more than a year. When the drug ring was finally busted earlier this month, authorities say they recovered pounds of fentanyl, heroin, and meth. They also say the suspects were armed to the teeth, with 17 guns recovered in the bust. Investigators say this drug ring was preying on a greenbelt called the Jungle in Seattle, known for its homeless encampments.
The Jungle drug trafficking organization preyed upon some of our most vulnerable community members, unhoused, people with substance use disorders, people with mental health issues. And this drug trafficking organization not only callously preyed upon these vulnerabilities, they in fact charged more money for their drugs.
Here is a list of the 5 people indicted federally for drug trafficking. The youngest is 35 years old. The oldest is 54. The Jungle isn't the only area of concern in the CID. People who live and work in Little Saigon say enough is enough when it comes to crime and homelessness there. They held a rally earlier this month holding signs that said, "Save Little Saigon." Community activists say the neighborhood has seen a troubling rise in stabbings, shootings, and drug overdoses. They're calling on the city, county, and state to provide more funding to revitalize the neighborhood.
This community has endured and suffered enough. It's high time for making amends, for the city to invest in the healthy growth and not the death of this historic immigrant community.
The rally was held across the street from the Navigation Center. It's a homeless service facility that was set to close this month, but the mayor decided to keep it open through March. Some community members say the center is contributing to the downfall of Little Saigon, and they want to see it closed immediately. That round of gunfire on Seattle's Aurora Avenue was the final straw for a local business. The owner decided to close up shop and relocate to Snohomish County. The shooting you just heard happened on January 10th near the intersection of Aurora Avenue North and 97th Street. Some of the bullets hitting Empire Insurance Brokers. The Spotlight's Dave Detling spoke with the owner, who says the crime there has become too much to handle.
Once again, a shootout on Aurora Avenue. Watch as bullets fly between vehicles as sex workers run for cover.
It's like the Wild West out here. It was literally 2 cars right here on Aurora, side by side, shooting at each other like the OK Corral. Bullets go in both directions.
Some of those bullets hit Ryan Ferry's business, Empire Insurance Brokers. One bullet even hit an employee's desk.
Right through the front window, just literally went into the back of a monitor, and I mean, the monitor is destroyed, obviously, but it stopped there, thankfully. But I mean, it's just, you know, a foot from his head.
Luckily, it was after hours, so the insurance business was closed. But Ferry says shootings like this have become all too common, adding it's a turf war between pimps in an area run rampant with sex, drugs, and prostitution.
They almost just own this stretch, you know, soap zone or whatever they want to call it here. You may as well just call it OK Corral, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you can pick your colorful title. It doesn't matter. They don't care.
Ferry says this shooting was the last straw. Citing safety concerns, he's shutting down his North Seattle location and relocating to Everett. The business has been here for 50 years.
At this point, I can't afford to lose a staff person due to gun violence. It's just unacceptable.
Councilmember Kathy Moore says she shares her constituents' frustration. Adding the new stay-out areas of prostitution or soap laws will combat this issue, but that SPD needs to enforce it more. In a statement to Fox 13, Moore said in part, quote, "We need the executive to view the ongoing gun violence in North Seattle as an emergency requiring an immediate and fully resourced response. But for this business, those words come a little too late. With packing boxes ready, it's goodbye, Seattle."
I'd say they earned it. You know, it's their fault. You know, I put this on the entire council. This isn't just a North Seattle Aurora problem. It's the city entire.
For the Spotlight, I'm Dave Detling.
A notorious murder case in Pierce County lands back in court. Amanda Knight was convicted in the 2010 murder of Jim Sanders. It was known as the Craigslist killing. It's a case that shook the community and changed the way many people buy and sell things online. This case was also personal for me as well. I was there covering it the night it happened and worked closely with the Sanders family to help them get justice. Knight was sentenced to more than 70 years for murder, robbery, and assault. But that conviction was later overturned. 14 years after the initial conviction, Jim's family was there for her resentencing. As the Spotlight's Shira Matsuzawa reports, the family was shocked and disgusted to learn they had to relive this all over again.
Amanda Knight appeared in court, the courtroom packed with the same faces she saw the last time she was sentenced in 2011. Investigators say she and 3 others went to the Edgewood home of Jim Sanders under the guise of trying to buy a diamond ring he listed on Craigslist. Instead, they terrorized the family, tying up Sanders, his wife, and their 2 sons. One of the other suspects shot and killed him.
We feel like she is the one that had orchestrated this whole thing. She is the one that made the phone calls. She's the one that set up the meetings. She's the one that gained the entrance to the home. And then she's the one that physically tied them up while they were at gunpoint.
Jim's brother Derek can't believe he's back at this court all these years later.
It's very, very frustrating.
The prosecutor's office says resentencing essentially boils down to the jury instructions given at trial and which robbery or attempted robbery was the grounds for the felony murder charge. The Washington State Supreme Court ruled there wasn't enough evidence to back up Knight's murder conviction in the way it was originally presented to the jury. An expert witness testified about Knight's mental state at the time, saying at the age of 21, her brain was not fully developed. Sanders' wife then addressed the court.
How can Amanda Knight even think for a second that she had nothing to do with the death of my husband, Jim Sanders, when in fact she set the whole crime up?
The emotions just as raw as they were 14 years ago.
Amanda Knight is a liar, Amanda Knight is selfish, and Amanda Knight is a murderer.
Knight then addressed the court.
I can't say that I deserve that. I can't say that I deserve that forgiveness. But I do ask for mercy.
As she talked through tears, the family of the victim also had tears of their own.
Whatever we come away with today, we have to be okay with.
For the Spotlight, I'm Shira Matsuzawa.
The judge resentenced Knight to 390 months total, which is 32 and a half years. That includes the 14 years she's already served, leaving about 18 years left on her sentence. A burglar is caught on camera ransacking a marijuana shop co-owned by Supersonics legend and NBA All-Star Shawn Kemp. The thief was inside the SoDo location for 20 minutes, stealing weed and raiding an ATM. To get inside the business and crack open that ATM, the burglar used the jaws of life, a rescue tool typically used by firefighters.
This is a completely new MO where they're using stolen government property to break in, and that's a cause for concern.
Trandu tells us the estimated loss is between $25,000 and $30,000. He thinks the damage could have been minimized if police were notified sooner, but he got the call from the alarm company while he was on a flight.
There was a breakdown in communication from the alarm company. The new thing in Seattle is that the police has to have a visual confirmation before they will send out the police.
He's right. Seattle PD changed that policy last fall to only send officers to calls from alarm companies when there is supporting evidence of a break-in. In this case, officers were on scene 7 minutes after getting the call, but the call came 45 minutes after the alarm was tripped. The thief was long gone. If you have any information on who's responsible, please contact the Seattle Police Department. A tattoo parlor in Pierce County is reeling from a burglary caught on camera. This happened the night of January 16th at Fat Cat Art Studio in Spanaway. The thief dealt a blow to 6 tattoo artists, stealing thousands of dollars worth of needles and machinery.
I had my first tattoo machine, you know, that I started with, and then I had a machine that my grandpa bought me, you know, and you can't get that back.
The thief got away in a red car, possibly an Acura NSX. If you have any information about this burglary, contact the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. They set up a GoFundMe to help the small business. You can find that GoFundMe on our website, fox13seattle.com. That's going to do it for us tonight on The Spotlight. Until next week, I'm David Rose. Please stay safe.